The original ban was scuttled by the courts after two states launched litigation. Washington's Attorney General Bob Ferguson was among those leading the objections. He joins me now from Seattle to talk about the new ban. So, Mr. Ferguson, so far from what you've read about this revised ban, what concerns do you have, if any?
Yeah, well, we're looking at it, and we'll make a decision in the next 2 or 3 days about whether or not we'll continue with our litigation. But it's fair to say the revised ban, as you indicated, makes substantial changes. So essentially, the president is capitulating on that original ban on key provisions. So that's encouraging. That said, we're still looking behind the executive order to see if it's really essentially a ban, a Muslim ban targeting certain Muslim countries that might be unconstitutional.
So let me ask you a little bit more about that. Is that because it does target 6 countries that are Muslim majority countries. The vast majority of people in all of these 6 countries are, in fact, Muslim. So do you feel as though it still has the same sense to it that the first ban had?
That's what we'll be examining. Is there have been significant changes, in fact, changes that will have a profound benefit to many folks who can now travel freely, folks with visas, for example, as you indicated. But part of our original concern with the original executive order was concern that during the campaign, when he ran for president, Donald Trump said he wanted to create a Muslim ban. And Rudy Giuliani, one of his key advisors, said not too long ago that the president asked him to create a Muslim ban that was legal. So we still have those concerns, but our job as lawyers is to go back to the drawing boards, review the executive order, talk to our universities, our colleges, our businesses, and see what harm the new executive order has on people right here in my state of Washington.
So let me ask you that. What could this mean for asylum seekers entering your state in beginning March 16th?
Well, beginning March 16th, if this executive order was allowed to continue, it would certainly have significant impacts from asylum seekers, right? For up to 120 days, they would not be able to enter the country. For individuals from those 6 countries, no longer including Iraq, but those other 6 countries, they would have a 90-day ban. So those are significant policy choices made by the president. My role, of course, is I may have policy concerns about it, but what I need to focus on is the law. Are those changes enough to pass constitutional scrutiny from the courts?
What do you make of the argument that has been made by American officials in that there are these countries are either unwilling or unable to provide the proper documentation for a lot of people seeking to enter the United States?
Yeah, well, they made that argument, 5 weeks ago of the 7 countries, and now after more careful review, after being defeated in the courts, they now dropped one of those countries, right? They have internal documents from Homeland Security, for example, saying that national origin is not a good way to determine national security and deciding who comes into our country. So there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle. That's why we need a couple days to make a thoughtful choice about how best to proceed. But those are the kinds of things that we'll be looking at.
And are you concerned, that there could be, in a sense, you could argue that France is a dangerous country, or that people coming from France, given some of the things there, that being, picking these 6 and not picking others, are those some of the things that you'll be considering?
Yeah, well, what we look at, to be clear, is what was the intent behind the creation of this executive order and the focus on these 6 countries. If the focus was an improper sort of test against Muslims, right, to keep them from coming to our country, that's where the president can run into problems. He does have broad authority to issue an executive order, but that authority is not unlimited. Everybody is bound by the rule of law, and by our Constitution, and that includes the president of the United States.